All right, Jacob, on this day in 1942, the Washington Redskins upset the Chicago Bears 14-6 in the National Football League Championship. What do you think about that?
You know, Jared, I just feel like it was a long time coming. The Redskins have been oppressed for too long. I think it was a great dub. Go Redskins.
Now, these two teams, I guaranteed today, wish they could be back in that same situation, don't they? Welcome, boys and girls, to the Lowing Brothers podcast. Today, we got some interesting topics going from the Navy upset over Army, the FCS football playoffs, us missing all our bets this weekend from what we told you on Friday, biggest factors for success for young quarterbacks, and our thoughts on Urban Meyer's season in Jacksonville. But to start off this episode, oh my gosh, Jacob, how much we were just you didn't have any pick right. I didn't have any pick right from last episode from our NFL betting locks. Nowhere close. My Lions plus 10 gone. The Bengals towards the end, I thought maybe they were going to pull it out for me against the Niners, but nope. They had a good second half comeback and couldn't finish it off in overtime. And your Texans that you picked, wow, your Seahawks actually won a game impressively for once.
That's what I get for telling people to bet against my team. You know, we may have to start issuing a legal notice before that any money lost is not our fault because we clearly don't know what we're doing.
I think this was a fluke.
It's a fluke. Since I've started gambling at Belcourt, I have yet to lose any money. I've won most of my bets. I am up plenty. Yesterday, yeah, like you said, that's a fluke. This week, I won't be wrong. Guaranteed. You can put your faith in us. No. Here's my legal notice, though. It's not my fault if you lose your money.
Oh, no wrong answers. No wrong answers at all. Well, speaking of this, how about the Jacksonville Jaguars this season? And how about just talking about young quarterbacks, Urban Meyer, all this stuff? I don't know where you want to start. If you want to jump into talking about Urban Meyer and his season, or if you want to talk about his quarterback and Trevor Lawrence and just jumping into young quarterbacks. But lead me to where you want to go with this.
As a lifetime Michigan fan, I would love nothing more than to talk about Urban Meyer's absolute atrocity of a team that he is running down there in the great state of Florida. It has been ugly all year. They're 2-11 now. Honestly, I really thought that was going to work. It clearly has not up to this point. They drafted the best quarterback, or maybe not the best, but probably the most hyped up quarterback prospect since probably Andrew Luck, and has been a failure, absolute failure. And I love to see it.
You love to see. Are you blaming Jacksonville for that struggle, or are you saying that maybe Trevor Lawrence isn't as good of a quarterback as we thought he was?
So here's the thing. In my opinion, this may be slightly controversial, but I think the most important factor when it comes to a young quarterback success in the NFL is a situation they land in and not their individual talent. Maybe Trevor Lawrence isn't as good as we thought he was going to be. Maybe not. I'm not going to write him off after one season because Peyton Manning was atrocious in his first season as well. But he's been pretty bad. I'm just going to pull up his stats here on my awesome spreadsheet. I mean, he has 9 touchdowns to 14 picks, less than 60% completion percentage, under 6 yards an attempt, four lost fumbles. He's been a turnover machine. He hasn't been particularly effective when they've thrown the ball. Every other rookie quarterback there, fun fact, averages more yards per attempt. So it's not a volume thing. He's just struggling. Is it the system? Probably. But you never know.
Well, and that's where I like to think. I talking about just not Trevor Lawrence, any rookie quarterback. I think it all depends on the system that they come into, the team they come into, and if you ask me, I still, unless like the most perfect quarter, like I said, you had the Andrew Luck. I think there's only certain quarterbacks that can come into the league right away, start and be successful. And I think Andrew Luck came into a good system with the Colts right away. That's why he was successful. But I think there's only a few quarterbacks that can truly come in and start their first season and see results. I personally think a quarterback coming out of college, you might disagree. I think they should almost sit a year and just kind of develop under the offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, just kind of learn the system, understand how the NFL game is ran, because it's a lot different than college. Like, just kind of learn under some of their coaches for 1 year and then throw them out there.
That's not. I don't completely agree with that. I think experience is important, especially when you're the best quarterback on your football team. But I also don't wholeheartedly disagree. It's not a bad idea. I mean, you look at guys like Aaron Rodgers and even Tom Brady had a year or two to figure out his stuff before he got thrown into the starting job with Drew Bledsoe's injury. But
I do agree with you. If they're the best quarterback, their best option, yeah, you do. Like, I just think it has to be the most special. Like you said, what say Tom Brady got to sit under a good quarterback for a couple years, got put into a good system. Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre for a couple of those years. I mean, they sat behind some good quarterbacks and in a good system that I think they were just set in a perfect situation for them to develop. And like I said, I understand, like, you get drafted by the Jets, the Jaguars, like, you're clearly coming into those teams being the best quarterback. It's just sometimes I think you're setting these kids out there for failure right away. And I think that it kills them almost, that they go out there, you go play for the Jets or Jaguars, you lose, you win 2 games during the season. I think that takes a toll on their confidence. Me personally, I mean, if you had to give me, when do you think the next time the Jets are going to be productive, or they're going to even be 500?
When they realize that quarterback isn't their problem, it's everything else.
Well, and that is the problem. But the thing is, they think it's the quarterback. And
there is not a young quarterback in the league who's been in the league for less than 3 years who could be successful on the Jets. They're not one. You can't convince me otherwise.
You think there's a quarterback out there that could make them a above 500 team?
I think Aaron Rodgers maybe, and that's it. That's it. Aaron Rodgers.
If you ask me personally, and I'm just saying, like, barely above like one game above 500. I honestly don't think there is. I just think that organization, that team is broken from top to bottom, and I feel bad for any quarterback that's been drafted. And I mean, they've had good years, but they have just fallen off the map. And it's almost like the Browns. You've seen those jerseys before where, like, people just tape name after name after name of their quarterback that they've drafted year after year after year. And the Browns finally found a Baker Mayfield. I think that they figured a lot more things out.
Yeah, the reason Baker Mayfield works in Cleveland, saying that works might be a bit of a stretch because they've struggled a little bit this year, is because they figured out their other stuff. They have a couple good running backs. They figured out the defense. The line is very good. And Baker Mayfield is still a little shaky, in my opinion. I've never been very high on him, but...
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I think that's the main thing for the Jets organization. But that's my biggest thing when it comes to quarterbacks being drafted. Like, I feel like they just have to be put in an organization that's already figured out, or at least from top to bottom, from GM to coach, from president, GM to coach, all the way down. It all has to be figured out. They all have to be on the same page. And I think some of these organizations, like, they're just consistently bad. I don't think it's any of the players' fault necessarily. I just think it's from the organization. And I think Trevor Lawrence is better than we think he is. Like, he hasn't had a good season. I just think the situation that he's in Jacksonville isn't a good one for him to be in. I think he's more talented than I think going to his sophomore, junior, and starts getting more years into the NFL. Maybe Jacksonville gets figured out. Maybe goes to a different team. I think he'll be more successful.
You know, I agree, but also I kind of think the fact that Trevor Lawrence is the reason why people aren't talking about how awful of a season he's having. Honestly, if you look at all these rookie quarterbacks, he's probably having the worst season of all of them outside of maybe Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's probably having the worst season, and everyone will gladly admit that, but everyone wants to talk about Trevor Lawrence, about how the system is broken, how it's not working. I mean, he was supposed to have this great head coach, and it's not working. He's turned the ball over 18 times to 9 touchdowns. He's completing 58% of his passes. I mean, he's not being successful. Anyone else, if Josh Rosen put up these kind of numbers, which he did, I mean, he would have gotten thrown into the fire and said, "You stink," benched. I get Trevor Lawrence is more special than that, but I think the fact that he was so hyped, I don't think people are willing to admit that he is having an atrocious season, because he is in terms of the stats. I know stats don't tell the whole story, but I mean, I don't care who you are. 9 touchdowns to 14 picks, 4 lost fumbles. That's bad. Through 13 games. That's terrible, frankly.
And I'm just gonna make a comment on what you said, like supposedly bringing in a good head coach. Urban Meyer hasn't been there. I think he's early in the season he lost the trust of his players. And the thing is, there's not been very many coaches in the NFL that have made the jump from college to the NFL and have been successful.
Jim Harbaugh, baby. And went back and is still successful. AP Coach of the Year.
I don't even know why he's your first option to think of. You got Pete Carroll. I mean, you can go way back and even talk about Paul Brown. Like,
did Lou Holtz go from the NCAA to NFL, or did he go from NFL down to NCAA?
Lou Holtz was in college football. He came up to the New York Jets, was there for 1 year, was terrible. I read his book and he talked about it. And he did 1 year of it and he just hated it, didn't like it. It wasn't for him. Might have been because New York City was just a little bigger. Like dealing with college players and NFL players, he talked about in his book, is just a different breed. But not a lot of coaches. More often than not, college coaches going up to the NFL fail. They do. And I love Urban Meyer. Everyone, you don't hear a lot of people say that because everyone thinks he's a crook. And I mean, his past, you've seen.
He might be just a little bit.
But I love the guy. He coached at Ohio State, won our team a national championship. I love the guy, but I didn't, even at the beginning of the season, I didn't think that was going to work.
Speaking of Urban Meyer, I'm just going to bring up the second best, or not the second, one of the best memes I've seen this year was someone posted something and it said, "This Notre Dame job is the second thing that has landed in Urban Meyer's lap this year," and I thought that was great.
Oh my God. When I saw those pictures of him at his club and stuff like that, I'm like, oh my. It was after a loss too.
Our boy can't have a good time?
I mean, yeah, you can, but when you're trying to turn an organization around and stuff like that, and that comes out on the internet, that's just a slap in the face right there. The organization, the players you're coaching. I don't know. I put all our biases aside, Jacob. I do have an honest question about Trey Lance. If you don't know, people, Jacob and I might be the most biased people against NDSU ever because we hate them. And I'd say when we hate them, we cannot stand them. The only person I've ever rooted for at NDSU is Carson Schuning. It's only because he's your classmate, graduated from my school, a really good friend of mine. I was happy that he won a national championship when they won, but I hated the NDSU one.
Yeah, I was
happy, but I was not. I was rooting for him, but not NDSU. But put our biases away and all that stuff. Say Trey Lance takes a couple years off. I shouldn't say years off, but just sitting behind Garoppolo or something. Do you think he could be an NFL quarterback? Or even say next year they get rid of Garoppolo, Trey Lance comes in. Do you think he could be as a rookie quarterback? Everyone clearly how North Dakota feels. Shout out to Torrey Danielson. I think he was the most happy person in the world. And I think he was happier than to win the lottery when he saw Trey Lance got drafted by the Niners.
And for the same reason, I was very disappointed because I said earlier, the number one factor in a quarterback success is the system they land in. And he landed outside of maybe Mac Jones in the best system. The 49ers are having a rough season this year, but they have been great in the past. They have a Super Bowl roster. They're talented enough to make the Super Bowl. He has a great defense to lean on, a great run game when the running backs are healthy, and good weapons to throw the ball to. I can't think of a much better situation to land in. He, in my opinion, was nowhere near as talented as these other guys. It still baffles me at how he got drafted that high, because he played 1 year of FCS football, And the argument was, well, he never threw any picks because he didn't throw the ball. You don't have to throw the ball and play for NDSU. They run the ball 50 times a game.
Yeah, I'd agree. And like I said, I think he got put in a good system for him to succeed. I I hate like I hate I don't wish anyone a terrible career or anything like that. I just the fan base. If he starts balling out, the NDSU fan base just be like, "Oh, look at us. We want Bama, or we should be competing for against better teams."
I will go on record and say there is no more annoying fan base than NDSU's football fan base. They are the worst.
Yeah,
Come at me.
And like I said, I think he could succeed. I think sitting under Garoppolo, not saying he's a Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, but like I think if he just learns the game, I think he can be successful. I don't think he will be that dude that we talk about in 5 years. He might be someone who's starting for a lower tier team or something. I don't think he's gonna be an all-star or MVP anytime soon or all pro. I think he could be there, but then secondary question too. Do you think Mac Jones is like you just talked about Mac Jones? Is he succeeding because he's talented, or is he just succeeding because of the situation he got put in, the organization he got put in a good situation with being with the Patriots?
He couldn't have found a better organization to go to, and I honestly don't think the Patriots could have found a better fit than Mac Jones. I think he fits into the system really well. They tried this weird modern offense thing with Cam Newton last year, and it was a failure. They got their big, tall, not athletic white guy, and it's working. I mean, it worked for them in the past. it's gonna keep working. I think he was a great fit for that team. I don't think they could have found a better one. Maybe Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields, in my opinion, outside of Trevor Lawrence, is probably the best quarterback in this draft. It baffles me that the Jets and especially the 49ers, if they wanted a guy like Trey Lance, I mean, Justin Fields is just as mobile and he's a way better passer. Justin Fields just felt like the best pick at 2 or 3.
No, I agree.
He is definitely a victim, in my opinion, of the Bears.
No, that's another topic. But no, I agree with you with Mac Jones. I think the Patriots got their man, and I just think they got a new guy that can buy into the so-called Patriots system. I think Tom Brady, towards the end of his career, he wanted with the Patriots. I think he wanted more control. I don't think he wanted to be part of this Patriots system where he might not have had an opinion as much as so possibly. Because like, tell me this: when the Patriots played the Bills last week, do you think if Tom Brady was their quarterback, do you really think that they would have only thrown the ball 3 times? If Tom Brady was their quarterback, they would have been throwing the ball 20 times just because Tom Brady's out there.
I mean, how do you not?
And like, they might not want to, but I think if Tom Brady's their quarterback still, I don't think they go into that game and they throw the ball 3 times. I think because it's Mac Jones, they have a young guy that they can have him buy into their system of what they want to do, that they can do more things with Mac Jones. I'm not saying having Mac Jones as their quarterback is better than having Tom Brady at their quarterback. I just think the Patriot way, I think Mac Jones can buy into it more than Tom Brady. Because like I said, I just don't think going into that game, Bill Belichick saying the wind's blowing 40 miles per hour, we're not gonna be able to pass the ball. It's like, we're just gonna run the ball. We're only pass it 3 times. I think twice was in the second half there. All 3 might have been. I know 2 of them were in the second half there. And I just think that's the good thing about Mac Jones. Like I said, they found this white, unathletic guy. I mean, there was those comparisons of the draft. We put Tom Brady and Mac Jones next to each other. Man, it was like looking in a freaking mirror. Two unathletic dad bod dudes getting drafted by the Patriots. You love to see it. I mean,
Tom Brady might be faster now than he was when he got in the league.
Like I'm to be honest, I don't want to see no guy 6. I want to see a guy rocking a dad bod who's out there in the NFL balling out. I don't want to see no 6-pack. I want to see a guy that looks like me and then makes me feel better about myself. That's like, man, this guy looks like me and he still performed. Clearly, I can't be out there. But anyways, I just think that Mac Jones fits well with I think that was like the best fit of all the draft, because like you just have a guy who's going to buy into the system, and the Patriots want you to buy into their system. And I think towards the end of Tom Brady's career, he was kind of over buying into their system and wanted more control of what was happening.
I mean, deservedly so. When you're the best, when
Yes.
you're the best football player ever.
Yes, but the best coach ever also just wants to have the control because rightfully so. Look what he's done. I mean, he had one bad year last year, but they were the team that had the most people opt out because of COVID. Like I said, they tried their whole thing with Cam Newton last year, and I just think a lot has changed since then, and a lot has. A lot of people came back. The Patriots had a great offseason of going and getting people.
I mean, Mac Jones has weapons. He doesn't have the best ones, but he has weapons to throw it to. They run the ball.
And when you run the ball,
Being able to run the football well is so important for a young quarterback. Look at Dak Prescott. He rode a great run game and the best offensive line in the NFL to where he is now.
oh yeah,
Not to say he's not talented, but there were more talented quarterbacks. I don't remember who was in that class, but I know there was more talented quarterbacks. But when you land in a good system that's a good fit, that's more important than how talented you are. I just think that has been proven over and over. And let's look at the most successful young quarterbacks in the last few years. You have the most obvious one is Patrick Mahomes, and look at the weapons he plays with.
Yeah, he's got them all around him. He also sat out for a year before he played, like behind Alex Smith.
Yeah, you have another team that another young guy is Lamar Jackson. Maybe not all the weapons, but they changed their system to make him successful, and it has worked.
Not the last couple weeks, but it has worked in the long run.
It has worked in the past. I mean, I think people figure it out a little bit more, but I mean, I think he's passing a little bit better than he used to. He's a little more accurate. You look at Josh Allen, that team, not the best weapons. His rookie year wasn't great, but like you said, I'll give any of these guys 1 year to figure it out. And they've been great since. They went and got Diggs. Their offensive line could be better, and they could run the ball better, which I think is an impressive thing. You know, when you can't run the ball and your line doesn't block, and you still almost won MVP last year.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The thing the Bills don't do is run the ball very well. Like they haven't in the past couple weeks. I'm like. It like you said, it's easier to pass the ball when you have a running game established.
Exactly. Dak Prescott, probably run game. Baker Mayfield didn't get successful until Cleveland figured out how to run the football and develop the line, got him a couple weapons on the outside. These teams need to start to realize that drafting a quarterback in the top 3 doesn't make any sense if everyone else is terrible.
Yeah, you got to have a team of staff. I mean, you still got to start somewhere with the quarterback too. I mean, you got to find your guy, but then after that, you have to really buy into him and develop people around him.
I mean, look at the Bengals. Astros was a nightmare. They went in my opinion, Ali, my words, was a terrible idea to draft Jamar Chase and pass him on Penei Sewell. I was wrong, really wrong, and it's worked out. So if you're gonna get a guy like that, you better get going real fast on finding weapons. Or you better have it figured out, because a lot of these teams are drafting, like, if the Jets thought that Zach Wilson was their solution, I think that's a testament to how broken that organization is.
Mm-hmm. I just want to go back to Buffalo here, like talking about I just looked at their game here. So yesterday against Tampa Bay, okay, Josh Allen, okay, granted he had a good game himself. He had 12 carries for 109 yards. But besides Josh Allen, all their other running backs had 7 carries all game.
That's a problem. And that's a combination of the offensive line being subpar and just not having good running backs.
Like, it's easy. Josh Allen threw the ball 54 times. I mean, it's easier going to game when you know a team's going to throw the ball 54 times and not run the ball. I don't even know if it was Josh Allen runs, if a lot of them were scrambled. I didn't watch the game. I don't know if they were scrambles or designed runs. I don't think they really have show a lot of designed runs for Josh Allen. Maybe they have to start because they don't have
he's faster than people give him credit for.
Well, he is. I know that.
He's very similar to Daniel Jones, who people don't realize is as fast as he is.
And here's the thing: I can't say anything about crapping on the Bills because they went to overtime with the Bucks and they lost. So it's not like the Bills got killed yesterday, but still, like they just don't have as good of rushing game established.
You know, who else came into the league as a young quarterback who benefited from a really good rushing game and the best defense in football is Russell Wilson, who got drafted in the third round.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was special, no doubt. He was super talented. He was definitely overlooked because of essentially his size. Without Russell Wilson, I don't think we have Kyler Murray. He kind of without Russell Wilson, Drew Brees. I mean, the 6'5" quarterback was the norm. I mean, and they have proven that these little guys can make it work. Like I said, they have Marshawn Lynch, a good run blocking offensive line, and the best defense of the 2010s, in my opinion. He didn't have to do a whole lot. He made really big plays when he needed to. He was still a really good long ball thrower, but he didn't have to force anything. He just did what he needed to do, and they won a Super Bowl and were a goal line dive away from winning 2 in a row.
That's still salt on the burn there.
I will never get over not handing the ball off to Marshawn Lynch.
How about that? I mean, your team versus my team for probably the only time in our lifetime, and your team was just running the ball away from winning it.
Yep, they had that big circus catch on down the sideline. Marshawn Lynch ran it down to about the 2, and then they threw the pick on the next play, following a timeout.
That's just the Patriot way right there. Tell you what,
I will
dealt nothing with the Seahawks. That was all the Patriots because we're just that great and amazing. Bill Belichick right there.
What I want to know is would have Malcolm Butler still had a heartbeat if he had bitten on on that, been wrong, and the Seahawks scored a touchdown on that play?
I don't have to worry about that. That didn't happen. It's in the back of my mind.
Well, it's been in the forefront of my mind for 7 years now. It won't go away. Every year I see his face.
And
that and Appalachian State blocking the kick.
And every year it comes up on SportsCenter or something on Twitter, I'll always send it to you.
It's sad boy hour.
It's always sad boy hour, Jacob. It's always sad boy hour.
Maybe this year I'll finally get some football magic and Michigan will come through for me.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that. Speaking of college football, though, once again, I am just absolutely wrong predicting this Army-Navy game.
Go midshipman.
I was wrong. Both things. I said Army's going to win this game by a couple touchdowns, and I said for the first time in 14 years, the under's going to hit. The over's going to hit. And once again, the under hits. They score 30 points, and the under hits on a 34.5 point over-under. The under hits again. I don't even care that Army lost. I do a little bit. It still stings a little bit. Was not expecting that to happen. But how the hell in 15 straight games does the under hit? I understand the offense that they run, but this year I was confident. I was confident this year that the freaking under was not going to hit. It wasn't going to hit.
You can never be confident in an over when the greatest offense of all time, the double wing triple option, is being ran.
Yeah, well, you're not wrong there. Well, Army was driving. I'm not going to lie. I couldn't watch the game. I watched the last 5 minutes. I had to coach against a girls' basketball game this weekend on Saturday against their old hometown of Rolla. Lost by like 30 or 20. I don't know. It was pretty ugly. Anyway, I missed it, but I watched the last 5 minutes. I was looking at the score. I was like, there's 30 points on the board right now. There's 30 points. Army's driving. I'm like, man, they're going to score. They're going to win this game, and the over's going to hit. I might have been wrong about my Army blowing them out. But I was like, Army will win. And I said, they are going to hit the over. And goddamn, freaking Navy stops them on a 4th and 3. And it was like, and they stopped them by inches. Like it was like 2 inches short of a first down. And of course they ran a triple option on 4th and 3 to try to get a first. And it looked like they're going to get it.
What else would you do? It's the best play in football.
Yeah, the best play in football.
There is nothing more entertaining than watching the old double wing. I stand by that statement.
I just like I said before, like I do enjoy this game. I think it's interesting to watch and stuff like that. I can't wrap my head about like as a modern guy, and I just think how the game has changed. I'm one of those people who's like I just want to see them pass the ball. Granted, Army threw the ball 16 times, Navy 6. Navy was 82 yards passing. Army had 108 yards pass, no passing touchdowns. Like it was just ridiculous. This is how many Navy people rushed the ball on Saturday. 1, 2, 9 people rushed the ball for Navy on
The way the game's
Saturday.
meant to be played.
The game the way. Yeah, I can't wrap my head around that. One thing is too, like it's honestly if you have a decent quarterback and maybe one good wide receiver, it's gotta be hard to guard every now and then because you run the ball 20 straight times and then all of a sudden you fake the triple option, you just run someone up the seam. It's just like no one was expecting that. It's their one pass that they're throwing in the first 30 plays.
Well, that's the joy of the double wing is options. You have the traditional triple option. You can do a little jet sweep. You could run counters. You can do a basic drop the quarterback, roll them out, and then use your 2 wing backs as lead blockers. There's all sorts of fun stuff you can do. You got the fakes. Like I said, you can bring the wide receiver from the edge, run a jet sweep. You can fake the jet sweep, hand it to the fullback. Fake it to the fullback, do a jet sweep. Do a jet sweep reverse. There's so many different things you can do out of that if it's ran correctly. And I mean, Army and Navy have over the years figured it out. I wish Georgia Tech still did it. It's beautiful when executed to perfection. You get to watch the fullback bruise for 3-4 yards at a time. Your third down efficiency is great because you never have 3rd and 12s or 3rd and 8s or 3rd and 7s when you're running that offense because you're going to get 2 or 3 yards a pop. And 3rd and 4 is much more manageable than 3rd and 7. That's just facts.
Yeah, whatever. I don't need to hear about your 1940 style way of thinking about football.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful game.
Like I said, I enjoy watching it. It's just a different pace of watching all my other football that I watch and stuff like that. I'm not offensive minded. I'm not much football minded in the first place, but like I just can't wrap my head around the whole triple op. I understand you can go left, you can do all these random freaking things you want to do, but it's just the game has changed. I like seeing people throw the ball. I like touchdowns scored. That's what I like to see. I don't enjoy the whole and the fact that they both do it. Oh my gosh, I tell you what.
It's great.
Like I said,
Juggernauts.
I still enjoy watching the game. I do try to. This was like the first year that in like 5-6 years I haven't actually watched the whole game. Granted I couldn't this year, or else I would have. But guess that's just how the cookies crumble, I guess. But moving on from football, let's talk about just to end the podcast here. Just talk about the FCS playoffs. We have James Madison squaring off with NDSU and South Dakota State squaring off with Montana State. I know I can't give much opinion about FCS football. I just want to hear, Jake, who do you want and who do you think will win this next week and win the championship? What's your output on who you think's going to win, but who do you want to win?
Sam Houston going down to Montana State last weekend was very painful because I knew they were the best hope at the stupid Bison winning yet another title. The Bison are OP. Let's all admit that. Just go up and play in the stupid MAC and win your 7 games and play in a stupid bowl. I'm sick and tired of watching this dominance because at this point, it looks like they're going to win another one. I would like to see Montana State win it all, just, with the, got a little bit of North Dakota connection. The head coaches, from the Central Valley area. So it'd be nice to see a little success go that way. But I know South Dakota State has the best chance of those two at beating NDSU because they have. I'm just not sure that who's left has the ability to. I don't know a whole lot about James Madison. They're going to FBS next year because they're not cowards. That's what you do when you dominate a division.
Amen to that, brother.
Cowards. Moo, you are cowards.
I love it. I love it. Amen.
Go up, go up. You belong there. UND, we can just enjoy winning our 6 games a year, missing the playoffs, doing all that. You know, UND was a victim of a really, really hard schedule this year. They of their 5 losses, 4 of them were on the road to ranked FCS opponents. The other one was on the road to an FBS opponent, and then they had NDSU at home. I mean, that's tough. That is tough to lose. They lost 6 games. They went 5-6. I'm not going to call for Bubba's head quite yet. It was a tough schedule. They played all those games within a touchdown. Yeah, I'm going to be rooting heavily for, I believe, James Madison or the Bulldogs, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
We'll be rooting for the Bulldogs this weekend. However, that South Dakota State Montana game goes, whatever happens, happens, and hopefully NDSU doesn't make it, so I don't have to worry about it, and I can just enjoy another FCS title game without NDSU.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I don't want to see another championship game with NDSU in there. I don't think they're going to win it. I don't. To be honest with you, I don't know who's going to win. I've just seen how NDSU a couple times this season against UND. I clearly watched that. Lost to SDSU. I understand there's not as many dominant teams left out there that use like Sam Houston and that lost last week. James Madison's still a dog out there, but I just think NDSU has struggled throughout some of the season. I haven't clearly. I mean, I'm sure, like I said, we're gonna have NDSU fans or whatnot, maybe even texting us, being like, "What the hell are you guys talking about?" I'm biased. I am. 100%. Not even gonna deny that. But they have struggled at times. I just don't think this is their year. I know they're good and they're probably the favorites right now. They haven't been as dominant as they have been in the past. So I just. For that reason, I don't know if it's going to be James Madison this week or if it'll be South Dakota State or Montana State in the championship game. I don't know.
The bright side is they can't fill the Fargo Dome because just like during North Star's dominance Region 4 boys basketball, it gets boring to watch your team win every single day, every single week, every single year. That stadium's been empty.
I shouldn't say I'm gonna stop you there. I don't think it's boring. I just think they expect it. I don't think it's boring to watch them win. I just think they expect to win. So they're just like, we're not gonna show up to the Dome because we're gonna go to Frisco.
It's not as special. It's not as special. When you've won 8 and 10 years, it's just I think boring might be the wrong word, but it's not as special. It's not as fun. It's not as fun to go to a game you know you're going to win.
Well, and that's the thing. That's why I'm just saying is like I think it's not filling up because it's boring. It's not boring. It's not. It's just they go on. Bison fans expect they're going to win. They expect they're going to go to Frisco. I wouldn't necessarily say the Bison fans expect they're going to win the whole thing. I just think they expect that they're going to be in Frisco, so they don't. The Dome has been filled. I mean, you look back in the years, their first couple, like the Dome was packed, and. That's not just Bison fans. If UND football done the same thing, granted the Lair Center's not as big, but like a Lair Center wouldn't be filled either. It's not just because Bison fans. I mean, if it happened to us too, we'd be doing the same thing. And off that note, like I said, I don't know who I'm rooting for. It's not the Bison. I don't care who it is. It could be James Madison, Montana State, South Dakota State. I don't care. As long as it's not the Bison, I don't care who wins. I think the Bison still have a good chance. I just don't think they're going to be there this year.
Every week, my favorite team in the country is whoever is playing NDSU.
I'm with you there. And for that note, I just love the fact that you just said that NDSU's cowards because like James Madison hasn't. When's the last time they won? Who won it? I honestly don't really know, to be honest. But it doesn't matter because the thing is. The most dominant team in FCS has been the Bison, and they're not the team that's even going up. And my selfish reasons, Bison fans be like, "Oh, because you're scared of us," or like, we're that good. It's like, I know you're that good. That's why you should be going up. If you leave, I'm not saying UND we're gonna take over the FCS because we won't. I'm just saying I'm sick and tired of seeing them win the FCS, and everyone's saying, "Oh, all those years we beat these FBS teams. Like we want Bama, we want these teams." It's like, well, then go up then. If you think you're that good, go up. compete in, like you said, the MAC or whatever you want to compete in, and just go play up there. Then, if you guys think you're that great, you guys are that great. That's why you should be going up. I'm not just saying that because I want you out. The NDSU has been that good. They've competed against these FBS teams.
I mean, let's look at all the FCS powerhouses in the last 20 years. Idaho's gone up. Appalachian State has gone up. James Madison is about to go up. Old Dominion used to be a power, as they went up. Georgia State has gone up. All these other places are going up, and here's NDSU because they're being complacent. That's the worst thing to be in the world. They're cowards. They're afraid to go up because they like to act like they're better than everyone else, and they know that they aren't. They'd win 7 games a year, play in some obscure bowl, and they wouldn't matter anymore. And they want to be relevant. They're only staying in the FCS to stay relevant. They lose all relevancy if they go up.
No, I agree. I've talked to you this on the phone. I'd actually love to see NDSU go up because I think every now and then you'd have an FBS team, like said, Minnesota coming to the Fargo Dome because they have to. Like, it's not like necessarily like, oh, we're paying this FCS team to come to Minnesota to play us. Like, I think it'd be cool for NDSU to be an FBS team because I think you start seeing some of these FBS schools coming to Fargo. I think you would see the dome filled every time because you'd be seeing some of these bigger, clearly not going to get Ohio State or Michigan or something, but might get like Wyoming or even like Kansas State, like these past NDSU coaches to come in and play in the Fargo Dome. Like, the dome would fill. I think it would be cool to see that. That's not me being just biased saying I just don't want NDSU in the FCS anymore. Like, I think it'd be cool to see NDSU in the FBS. I think it'd bring a lot more to the dome, in my opinion.
Well, that feels like a good episode.
Well, aren't they all?
All of them are good episodes. That is the correct answer. We will be having our first guest on though later this week on Thursday, so that'll be exciting. Should we tell them or should we save it and make it a surprise?
No, I think we tell them. I think we gotta tell them who they're gonna have an earful of.
Works
The one and only my classmate, Alex Abrahamson. If I had a round of applause button, I would click it right now, but I don't.
Our setup is, as I said last time, is very old school. No sound effects, no editing. The sucker just goes straight to the internet.
So we're gonna bring him in. I mean, for much like Sedona, he's my old classmate. Jacob, Alex, and I, we text each other constantly throughout the week about sports or politics or whatever. Mostly all the time it's about sports and us arguing. He bets, I bet, Jacob bets not as much, but we all kind of bet on random stuff. So we're always texting each other and just talking about random crap. It'll be interesting to bring him on here and get a different opinion than just us two. Granted, even though we usually don't agree on anything unless it comes about hating NDSU.
Ugh, can't stand those guys.
Me and you both.
Well, all right. I guess we'll sign off with that. See you guys on Thursday with our buddy Alex. We'll talk about all sorts of stuff, and eventually, hopefully, we get into some college basketball once the games start picking up, because that's my forte.
They'll start picking it up here pretty soon. Here, we'll have a couple games, and after Christmas is over, they'll be right there. But thank you guys for listening. Keep it easy, and if she's easy, take her twice.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.